Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the observation window of Diplomatic Station Harmony. She watched the stars and thought about how peaceful everything looked from here. 50 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. 50 years of peace, trade, and friendship with 46 other species from across the galaxy. Chen smiled as a transport ship docked at the station. It carried medical supplies that humans had developed. These supplies would save thousands of lives on worlds she had never visited. This made her proud. Humanity had brought so much good to the galaxy. They shared their technology freely. They helped terraform dead worlds into living ones. They asked for nothing except friendship in return. The door behind her opened. Her assistant, James Park, walked in quickly. His face looked worried. Chen felt her smile fade away. "Ambassador, you need to see this," James said. He held up a data pad. "The Vraxians just sent a message to the Council." Chen took the pad and read the message. Her hands began to shake. The Vraxian Empire was claiming 3 new star systems. These systems belonged to smaller species who could not defend themselves. The message said these species had 1 month to leave or face military consequences. "Have they brought this to the Council?" Chen asked. "Yes. The emergency session starts in 1 hour," James replied. Chen looked back at the stars. The Vraxians were the strongest military power in the galaxy. They had more ships and weapons than anyone else. For 20 years they had followed the peace treaty. Everyone called it the Pax Galactica. But lately the Vraxians had become aggressive. They pushed borders. They made threats. And now this. "Prepare my statement," Chen said quietly. "We need to stand against this." 1 hour later, Chen sat in the council chamber. The room was circular and huge. Representatives from 47 species sat in seats that rose up like stairs. At the center stood Speaker Zinthar, an insect-like being with 4 arms and compound eyes that saw everything. "The Council recognizes the Vraxian Empire," Zinthar announced. Admiral Krevath stood up. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with gray scales and sharp teeth. His uniform displayed dozens of medals. When he spoke, his voice boomed across the chamber. "The Vraxian Empire claims these systems by right of power," Krevath said. "We have been patient. We have followed your rules. But the galaxy is changing. Strong species deserve more space. Weak species should move aside." Several representatives gasped. Others looked down at their desks. No one spoke up. "Does anyone challenge this claim?" Zinthar asked. Chen stood up. "Humanity challenges this claim. These systems are home to living, breathing beings. They have rights under the Council Charter. The Vraxians cannot simply take what belongs to others." Krevath turned to look at Chen. His eyes narrowed. "And what will humanity do about it? You have no military. You have no weapons. You are merchants and doctors. Go back to your trade routes, little human, and leave real power to those who understand it." Several Vraxian representatives laughed. Chen felt her face grow hot, but she kept her voice calm. "We ask the Council to enforce its own laws," she said. "Send peacekeepers. Impose sanctions. Show the galaxy that might does not make right." The Council debated for 6 hours. In the end, they voted to send a formal complaint to the Vraxian Empire. Nothing more. No sanctions. No peacekeepers. Just words on paper. Chen returned to her office, feeling defeated. James was waiting with more bad news. "Ambassador, New Horizon just received a message from the Vraxians," he said. "They're claiming that system too. They gave our people 2 weeks to evacuate." Chen's heart stopped. New Horizon was a human mining colony on the edge of explored space. 10,000 people lived there. Families, children, people who had built homes and lives. "Get me Governor Walsh immediately," Chen ordered. Minutes later, Governor Sarah Walsh appeared on the screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Behind her, Chen could see the colony's main street through a window. Children were playing. People were walking to work. "Ambassador, we received the message," Walsh said. "I'm calling an emergency meeting with all department heads." "Governor, you need to evacuate," Chen said. "I know it's your home, but the Vraxians are serious." "The Council won't help us," Walsh shook her head. 10,000 people, Ambassador. Where would they go? It takes 6 weeks to evacuate everyone. And this is our home. We built this colony with our own hands. We can't just abandon it. Please, Sarah, I've seen what the Vraxians do to those who resist. We're not resisting. We're just living our lives. Maybe they're bluffing. Maybe when they see we're peaceful people, they'll leave us alone. Chen wanted to argue more, But she saw the determination in Walsh's eyes. These people would not leave without a fight. And humanity had no weapons to give them. "I'll do everything I can at the council," Chen promised. "Just please prepare evacuation plans. Just in case." Over the next 2 weeks, Chen worked without sleeping. She talked to every council member. She gave speeches. She filed motions. But nothing worked. The Vraxians were too powerful. Too many species feared them. And humanity was too new, too weak, too peaceful to make anyone listen. On the 13th day, Chen received a call from Captain Rachel Foster, commander of the civilian transport ship Peaceful Trader. The ship was in orbit around New Horizon. "Ambassador, you should see what's happening here," Foster said. Her voice trembled. "There are Vraxian warships jumping into the system. Dozens of them." "How many people have evacuated?" Chen asked. "Only 3,000. The rest refused to leave. They say this is their home." Chen closed her eyes. She thought about calling Earth. Maybe the government could do something. But she knew the truth. Humanity had dismantled its military 200 years ago. They had no warships, no weapons. They had chosen peace after centuries of terrible wars. They had buried their violent past and promised never to return to it. "Tell everyone who will listen to evacuate now," Chen said. "Right now." "I will, Ambassador. But I don't think they'll listen." Chen ended the call and sat in silence. She thought about her own childhood on Earth. Her grandmother had told her stories about the old days, about wars that killed billions, about weapons that could destroy planets, about humanity's dark history that they had worked so hard to leave behind. Her grandmother had said something Chen never forgot. "We chose peace because we knew the true cost of war. We gave up our weapons because we understood what they could do. Never forget, child, that we made a choice. Peace was not forced upon us. We chose it." Chen understood now what those words meant. Humanity had not been weak. They had been strong enough to choose peace. But what good was that choice if it meant watching innocent people die? She looked at the stars again. Somewhere out there, 7,000 humans waited on New Horizon. They trusted that peace would protect them. They believed that reason and diplomacy would save them. Chen hoped they were right. But deep in her heart, she feared they were wrong. The Vraxian fleet continued to gather around New Horizon, and humanity could do nothing but watch and wait. Admiral Krevath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will. Through the viewport, he could see the human colony on the planet below. New Horizon looked peaceful from orbit. Lights twinkled in the darkness. He could see the grid pattern of streets and buildings. It reminded him of a child's toy. "Status report," Krevath ordered. 40 warships in position, Admiral." His first officer replied. "All weapons charged and ready. The humans have sent another message requesting negotiations." Krevath laughed. "Negotiations? These humans think everything can be solved with words. Have they evacuated?" "No, sir. Our scans show approximately 7,000 life signs still on the planet. They refuse to leave." "Then they have made their choice," Krevath said. He pressed a button on his chair. "Open a channel to the colony." Governor Walsh appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. Behind her, Krevath could see other humans working at computer stations. They all looked so fragile, so weak. "Admiral Krevath, please listen to reason," Walsh said. "We are peaceful people. This planet has room for everyone. We can share this system. There is no need for violence." "There is always need for violence," Krevath replied. "It is the foundation of order. The strong take what they need. The weak learn their place. This is the way of the galaxy." "That's not true. The Council has laws. There are other ways. The Council has words. I have warships. Which do you think matters more?" Walsh's hands gripped her desk. "If you attack us, you will start a war with humanity." "Is that what you want?" Krevath smiled, showing all his teeth. "Humanity has no military. You are traitors and healers. You cannot fight. You will not fight. You will file a complaint with the Council, and the Council will do nothing." "Just like always, please," Walsh said quietly. "There are children here, families, innocent people who just want to live their lives. Then you should have evacuated when I gave you the chance. This is your failure, not mine. Let this be a lesson to all weak species. In this galaxy, peace is a luxury only the strong can afford." Krevath cut the transmission. He turned to his weapons officer. "Target all major population centers," he ordered. "Show no mercy. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who defy the Vraxian Empire." "Sir?" The other human ships in orbit are requesting permission to land and evacuate survivors. Denied. If they do not leave the system in 10 minutes, destroy them as well. The weapons officer hesitated for just a moment. Then he nodded and began entering commands into his console. Captain Rachel Foster watched in horror from the bridge of the Peaceful Trader. Her sensors showed the Vraxian warships powering up their weapons. She had tried everything. Diplomatic channels, emergency broadcasts, direct appeals to individual Vraxian captains. Nothing worked. "Captain, what do we do?" her first officer asked. "Get us out of here," Foster said quietly. "If we stay, they'll kill us too, and then no one will be able to tell what happened here. But the people on the planet are already dead. We just don't know it yet." The Peaceful Trader and 2 other human vessels jumped to faster than light speed. They escaped the system seconds before the Vraxians opened fire. The bombardment lasted 17 minutes. 40 warships fired their weapons at the planet below. Energy beams that could melt steel struck homes and schools. Kinetic missiles that could punch through mountains hit hospitals and markets. Plasma bombs that burned hotter than suns fell on parks and farms. New Horizon burned. 7,000 humans died. Not quickly. Not mercifully. The Vraxians made sure of that. They wanted survivors to suffer. They wanted the lesson to be clear. When it was over, Krevath ordered his ships to broadcast footage of the attack on all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy would see it. Every council member would watch humans die, and everyone would learn that the Vraxian Empire could do whatever it wanted. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," Krevath ordered. "Tell them New Horizon has been cleansed. The system now belongs to the Empire. Any species that objects is welcome to try stopping us." 3 days later, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Ambassador Chenwei sat in her chair and watched the footage play on the central screen. She had already seen it 100 times. Each viewing hurt more than the last. She saw Governor Walsh running through the streets trying to help injured children. She saw the moment a missile struck the building where Walsh had been standing. She saw schools collapse, hospitals explode, families huddled together in their final moments, 7,000 people, gone, while humanity had no weapons to save them. Speaker Zinthar called for order. "The Council has viewed the evidence of the Vraxian action at New Horizon. We must now decide our response." For 6 hours, representatives gave speeches. Some called it a tragedy. Others said it was unfortunate. A few brave ones called it a war crime. But when the vote came, the Council only agreed to issue a formal condemnation. Nothing more. The Vraxian ambassador, a younger officer named Thrax, stood up. He actually smiled. "The Council speaks strong words but takes no action. This is why the Vraxian Empire grows stronger while you grow weaker. You talk about laws and rights. We understand only power." He turned to look directly at Chen. "Tell me, Ambassador Chen, what will the peaceful humans do? File another complaint? Send us a strongly worded letter?" Chen stood up slowly. She had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red from crying. Her hands shook with exhaustion and rage. But when she spoke, her voice was perfectly calm. "You will learn why humanity chose peace," she said. Then she walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the Vraxian delegation laughed. Over the next week, something strange happened. All human ambassadors returned to Earth. Every single one. They gave no explanation. They just left their posts and went home. Human merchant ships began returning to human space. The galaxy's trade routes became quieter as human vessels disappeared. The medical supplies stopped flowing. The terraforming project stopped. Everything humanity had contributed to the galaxy simply stopped. 6 weeks passed. The galaxy heard nothing from humanity. No messages, no transmissions, nothing. Their entire region of space went dark. Some species thought humans were mourning. Others believed they had accepted their weakness and given up. The Vraxians claimed victory. They began preparing to expand into human trade routes. "The humans have learned their lesson," Admiral Krevath announced to his fleet. "They know their place now. Soon their systems will belong to us as well." But on Earth, something very different was happening. In secret facilities buried deep underground, humans were working. They accessed databases that had been sealed for 200 years. They read files marked never to be opened again. They studied weapons that had been dismantled and techniques that had been forgotten. They activated something called Protocol Rubicon, a protocol created 2 centuries ago for one specific purpose, in case humanity ever needed to remember how to fight. The Galactic Council continued its business. Trade deals were made. Disputes were settled. Life went on. But some representatives noticed the silence from human space. A few sent messages asking if humanity was okay. None received replies. Ambassador Thrax gave an interview to a major galactic news network. "The humans are finished," he said confidently. "They tried to play in a game they did not understand. They believed their peace would protect them. Now they hide in fear. Soon there will be no more human space. Only Vraxian space that used to belong to humans." The interviewer asked, "Do you think humanity might retaliate?" Thrax laughed. "With what? They have no military. They have no weapons. They cannot fight. They can only hide and hope we forget about them. But we will not forget. The Vraxian Empire never forgets." That interview was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched it. Many felt sorry for humanity. Others felt contempt. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity was finished as a player in galactic politics. They were wrong. At the edge of Vraxian space, sensors detected something. A massive energy signature. Something was coming out of faster-than-light travel. Something big. The Vraxian Border Patrol expected a merchant vessel or perhaps a refugee ship. What emerged from the light was neither. It was a warship, 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons. Its hull was dark and angular, designed to absorb sensor scans. It looked like something from a nightmare. Like death itself had taken physical form. On its side, written in letters 300 meters tall, was its name, ESS Retribution. The Border Patrol tried to hail it. The warship did not respond. It simply adjusted course and accelerated toward the Vraxian homeworld, moving fast. Moving with purpose, humanity had not forgotten. Humanity had been preparing, and now humanity was coming. The Galactic Council's Intelligence Center received the first reports at Oro 300 station time. Analyst Karen, a bird-like being from the Avari species, was working the night shift when her console began flashing urgent warnings. "Speaker Zinthar, you need to see this immediately," Karen said into her communicator. 20 minutes later, Zinthar stood beside her looking at the data. His forearms crossed in a gesture of confusion. "A human warship?" he asked. "That cannot be correct. Humans do not have warships. Our sensors confirm it, Speaker. The energy signature is enormous. Whatever this vessel is, it's larger and more powerful than anything we've seen before. Even Vraxian dreadnoughts look small compared to this. What is it doing? Heading directly for the Vraxian homeworld at maximum speed. They're not even trying to hide. They're broadcasting their identity on all frequencies." Zinthar felt something he had not experienced in decades. Fear. "Send messages to both the Vraxians and the humans. We need to stop this before it becomes a war." But the messages to humanity went unanswered. The Vraxians, however, responded immediately. Admiral Cravath appeared on the screen looking angry. "We have detected the human vessel," Cravath said. "It is one ship. We have 300 warships around our homeworld. This is not a threat. This is suicide. Perhaps the humans have finally lost their minds. Please, Admiral, do not engage. Let us mediate. There must be a peaceful solution." The time for peace ended when the humans sent a warship into our space. We will destroy it, and then we will finish what we started at New Horizon. The transmission ended. Zinthar turned back to Karen. "Keep monitoring. Record everything. If shooting starts, the Council needs to know exactly what happened." On board the ESS Retribution, Captain Marcus Drake sat in the command chair and watched his tactical display. 300 Vraxian ships were moving to intercept them, exactly as expected. "Captain, we're receiving multiple hails from the Vraxian fleet," his communications officer reported. "They're demanding we stop and power down our weapons." "Ignore them," Drake said calmly. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his face from a training accident decades ago. He had been in retirement teaching history at a university when Protocol Rubicon was activated. Now he commanded a warship that should never have been built. "Sir, we're also receiving messages from the Galactic Council. They want us to stop and allow mediation." "Ignore them too. We're not here to talk." His first officer, Commander Lisa Zhang, leaned closer. "Captain, 300 ships. Are you sure we can do this?" Drake smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Commander, this ship was designed to fight entire fleets by itself. We're not going to destroy all their ships. We're going to disable them. There's a difference." "Yes, sir. Deep in human space, Fleet Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood in a command center that had not been used in 200 years. Around her, dozens of officers monitored screens showing the Retribution's progress. Okonkwo was 70 years old with white hair and dark skin. She had spent 40 years in the Merchant Marine before Protocol Rubicon brought her back to military service. "Admiral, the Council is requesting communication," an officer said. "They sound desperate." "Put them through," Okonkwo ordered. Speaker Zinthar appeared on the screen. "Admiral, I did not know humanity had admirals." "We didn't for a long time," Okonkwo replied. "We chose to forget what we were. But some choices can be unmade when necessary. Please, Admiral, recall your ship. We can negotiate. The Council is prepared to impose real sanctions on the Vraxian Empire now. We can get justice for New Horizon through peaceful means. You had your chance for peaceful justice, Speaker. You chose to do nothing, so now humanity will seek justice our way. But this will start a war. Thousands could die." Okonkwo's expression hardened. 7,000 already died while the Council watched. "Where was your concern then? Where were your sanctions when Vraxian bombs fell on human children? We made mistakes, but two wrongs do not make a right. Please, we're not making a wrong, Speaker. We're correcting one. Watch what happens next, and remember it the next time someone asks the Council for help." She cut the transmission. One of her officers spoke up nervously. "Admiral, we've never actually tested these weapons in real combat. What if they don't work as designed?" "Then Captain Drake and his crew will die," Okonkwo said flatly. "And we'll send another ship, and another after that. The Vraxians wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson. Now we'll teach them one, no matter the cost." The Vraxian fleet formed a battle wall between the Retribution and their homeworld. Admiral Krivath commanded from his flagship at the center of the formation. He watched the human ship approach on his tactical display. "One ship," he muttered. "They send one ship to face my entire fleet. The humans truly have gone insane." "Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the human vessel," his sensor officer reported. "I've never seen readings like this. Their power output is incredible. I don't care how much power they have. 300 ships will tear them apart. All vessels arm weapons. When they come into range, fire everything." The distance closed. 500,000 kilometers. 400,000. 300,000. "In range, Admiral," the weapons officer reported. "All ships fire. 300 Vraxian warships fired at once. Enough weapons to destroy a moon. Enough firepower to vaporize any known vessel. Energy beams and missiles filled space, all converging on the Retribution. On the Retribution's bridge, alarms blared. "Incoming fire, Captain," the tactical officer shouted. Multiple missile locks. "Energy weapons incoming?" "Shield status?" Drake asked calmly. "Shields at full power, sir." "Activating point defense systems." The crew watched their screens. The Vraxian weapons struck the Retribution's shields like waves hitting a cliff. The shields glowed bright blue as they absorbed the energy. Point defense lasers shot down incoming missiles. Not a single weapon penetrated. "Shield status?" Drake asked again. "Shields holding at 98%, sir." "Minimal power drain," Drake nodded. "Return fire." "Pattern Delta, disable, don't destroy." "Yes, sir, firing." The Retribution's weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Humanity had spent 200 years developing peaceful technology. But before that, they had spent thousands of years perfecting weapons. All that knowledge had been preserved in sealed databases. Now it was being used again. Relativistic kinetic kill vehicles launched from the Retribution's forward tubes. They were simple weapons, really. Just metal slugs accelerated to 90% of light speed. When they hit, they released energy equivalent to nuclear weapons, but the Retribution didn't aim to destroy. Each slug was calculated to hit non-critical ship sections, engines, weapon arrays, bridge sections. The goal was to disable, not kill. Quantum targeting systems ensured perfect accuracy. AI-coordinated fire control meant the Retribution could engage dozens of targets simultaneously. In the first minute of combat, 50 Vraxian ships were disabled, their engines destroyed, their weapons offline. Dead in space but with minimal casualties. Admiral Krivath watched in horror as his battle wall collapsed. "What kind of weapons are those? How are they doing this?" "Admiral, recommend we withdraw and regroup," his first officer said. "No, we outnumber them." "Continue firing. All ships focus fire on that human vessel." But focusing fire didn't help. The Retribution's shields absorbed everything, and its weapons kept firing. methodically, efficiently, disabling ship after ship. 10 minutes into the battle, 150 Vraxian ships were disabled. The rest were trying to retreat. Drake watched the tactical display. "Commander Jang, open a channel to the Vraxian flagship. All frequencies." Krivath's face appeared on the screen. He looked shocked and afraid. "How?" Krivath asked. "How do you have these weapons?" "You're peaceful. You're weak. You have no military." "Had no military," Drake corrected. "Past tense, Admiral. Humanity chose peace 200 years ago. We dismantled our fleets, archived our weapons, stored our knowledge. We swore never to fight again unless we had absolutely no choice. You cannot do this. The Council will stop you. The Council couldn't stop you when you killed 7,000 unarmed civilians. Why would they stop us now?" Drake leaned forward. "You wanted to teach a lesson, Admiral. You wanted to show the galaxy that might makes right. Consider this our response to that lesson. We surrender."
"Stop firing!"
"We surrender. Too late for that. You taught us that mercy is weakness, that peace is for the helpless. So we'll show you what humanity looks like when we stop being peaceful." The Retribution continued firing. Within 3 hours of the battle starting, 200 Vraxian ships were disabled. 50 more were so badly damaged they were fleeing the system. Only 50 remained combat capable, and they were running away as fast as their engines allowed. Admiral Krivath's flagship was disabled but intact. The crew was alive. Drake had made sure of that. "Open a channel to the Vraxian homeworld," Drake ordered. "I want Empress Kalvar to see this." The Empress appeared on screen. She was an ancient Vraxian covered in ceremonial markings. She looked at the battlefield and then at Drake. "What are your terms, human?" she asked quietly. "Unconditional surrender. Admiral Krivath and all officers involved in the New Horizon massacre will face trial for war crimes. The Vraxian Empire will pay reparations to the families of victims." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled. Representatives from all 47 species had come to witness something unprecedented, a formal surrender ceremony. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in her place, wearing full diplomatic uniform for the first time in months. She looked different now, harder. The friendly merchant species representative was gone. In her place stood someone the galaxy was still learning to recognize, a human who remembered how to fight. Speaker Zinthar called the session to order. "The Council recognizes the Vraxian Empire." Empress Kalvar stood slowly. She was not wearing her ceremonial armor today. Instead, she wore simple robes. Behind her, Admiral Krivath stood in chains. His medals had been removed. His uniform was stained and torn. "The Vraxian Empire formally surrenders to humanity," Kalvar said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "We acknowledge our crimes at New Horizon. We accept responsibility for the deaths of 7,000 human civilians. We submit ourselves to galactic justice." Chen felt no satisfaction at these words. 7,000 people were still dead. Surrender would not bring them back. But it was a start. "The Council recognizes humanity," Zinthar said. Fleet Admiral Sarah Okonkwo appeared on the central screen. She was broadcasting from Earth, wearing a military uniform that most species had never seen before, dark blue with gold trim and ribbons that told stories of humanity's forgotten past. "The Galactic Council failed to protect innocent lives," Okonkwo said. "You failed to enforce your own laws. You let fear of the strong prevent you from defending the weak. So humanity took justice into our own hands." Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They knew she was right. "But we did not seek revenge," Okonkwo continued. "The Retribution could have destroyed every Vraxian ship, could have bombarded their cities as they bombarded ours. We chose not to, because the difference between justice and revenge is restraint, and humanity remembers the cost of losing that restraint." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Admiral Krivath and 47 of his officers will stand trial for war crimes. This is the first such trial in galactic history. We hope it will not be the last. The galaxy needs to understand that actions have consequences, that killing the innocent will not be tolerated, not by the Council, and not by humanity." Ambassador Thrax, who had mocked humanity weeks earlier, stood up. He looked much smaller now. "What will humanity do with its warship? Will you remain armed? Will you threaten others as we did?" Okonkwo's expression was cold. "The Retribution will remain on active patrol, a reminder to anyone who thinks peaceful species are helpless. But we will not use it to conquer. We will not use it to threaten. We will use it only to defend those who cannot defend themselves. How can we trust you? Thrax asked. You can't, Okonkwo replied simply. Just as we cannot trust that the Council will protect us. That's the lesson here, isn't it? Trust must be earned, safety must be maintained, and peace is not the absence of weapons. Peace is the choice not to use them. The trial began 2 weeks later. The Council established a special tribunal on a neutral station. Judges from 5 different species presided. The evidence was clear and overwhelming. Footage from the attack on New Horizon played in the courtroom. Governor Walsh's final message: families running through burning streets, children crying for parents who would never answer. 7,000 lives ended in 17 minutes. Admiral Krivath sat in the defendant's chair and showed no emotion. When asked if he had anything to say, he spoke clearly. I followed my orders. I served my empire. If I had to do it again, I would make the same choice. The strong survive. The weak perish. This is the law of nature. Chen watched from the gallery. She felt rage building in her chest. This creature had killed 7,000 people and felt no remorse, no guilt, no understanding of what he had done wrong. The judges deliberated for 3 days. The verdict was unanimous, guilty on all charges. War crimes, crimes against sentient life, violations of the Pax Galactica Treaty. The sentence: life imprisonment without possibility of release. Krivath and his officers would spend the rest of their lives in a maximum security facility, thinking about what they had done. Chen had wanted death. She had wanted them to suffer as their victims had suffered, but Okonkwo had convinced her otherwise. Death is too easy, Okonkwo had said. Let them live with their crimes. Let them watch as the galaxy changes around them. Let them see that their way of thinking died with them. The reparations came next. The Vraxian Empire liquidated assets, sold territory, paid billions of credits to the families of New Horizon victims. It would take decades for them to fully pay what they owed. The Vraxian military was reduced by 80%. Their warships were decommissioned. Their weapons stockpiles were destroyed under Council supervision. The empire that had been the galaxy's greatest military power was now just another species struggling to survive. Some species celebrated. Others worried. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted dramatically. Humanity had revealed itself as a military force equal to or greater than anyone else. What would they do with that power? Ambassador Chen returned to Diplomatic Station Harmony for the first time since New Horizon. The station felt different now. When she walked through the corridors, other species moved aside. Some nodded respectfully. Others looked away, afraid to meet her eyes. She found Speaker Zinthar in his office, looking at reports on a data pad. He looked up when she entered. Ambassador Chen, welcome back. Thank you, Speaker. I wanted to discuss the Council's new security proposals. Of course. Please sit. Zinthar set down his pad. The Council has learned from its failures. We are establishing a real peacekeeping force, ships from multiple species authorized to enforce Council law. It should have existed years ago, Chen nodded. Humanity will contribute ships and personnel. We want to help build a system that actually works. I appreciate that. But Chen, I must ask, what changed? How did humanity go from having no military to defeating the Vraxian Empire in 3 hours? Chen leaned back in her chair. We didn't change, Speaker. We just stopped hiding. 200 years ago, humanity fought terrible wars. Wars that killed billions, wars that almost destroyed our species. We developed weapons that could crack planets, strategies that could topple civilizations. We became very, very good at killing. But you gave it all up. Yes. Because we finally understood what it meant. Every weapon we built was a step closer to our own extinction. Every war made the next war more likely. So we stopped. We dismantled everything. We swore never to fight again, and for 200 years we kept that promise. Zinthar's compound eyes studied her carefully. What made you break it? You did. All of you. Chen's voice was quiet but firm. We came to the galaxy hoping to find others who had learned the lessons we learned, who understood that peace was better than war. Instead, we found the Vraxians who believed only in strength, and we found a council too afraid to stop them. We were trying to prevent war. No, you were trying to avoid responsibility. There's a difference. Chen stood up and walked to the window. My grandmother used to tell me stories about Earth's old wars. She fought in the last one before humanity unified. She saw entire cities burn. She held friends while they died. And she told me something I never forgot. What was that? She said that peace without the will to defend it is just waiting to be conquered. That choosing not to fight is only meaningful if you could fight. Otherwise, it's just surrender with better words. Synthar said nothing for a long moment. Finally, he spoke quietly. The galaxy is afraid of you now. Good, Chen replied. Fear can lead to respect. Respect can lead to real peace. Not the false peace we had before, where the strong did what they wanted and the weak suffered in silence. Real peace where everyone follows the rules because they know the consequences of breaking them. And humanity will enforce those consequences, if we must. But we'd rather not. We remember what war costs. We remember the price of violence. That's why we'll always choose peace first. But never again will we choose peace only. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Okonkwo stood in a military cemetery that had been empty for 200 years. Now it had 7,000 new graves, each one marked with a name from New Horizon, each one representing a life that should not have ended. Captain Drake stood beside her. The Retribution was in orbit above them, visible in the afternoon sky. Do you think we did the right thing? Drake asked. Okonkwo nodded. We gave 7,000 people justice. We showed the galaxy that humanity won't be victims. We prevented future massacres. Yes, Captain, we did the right thing, but we're armed now. We're warriors again. Doesn't that mean we failed? Doesn't that mean we're going back to our old ways? No. Okonkwo looked up at the ship above them. Our old ways were fighting because we could. Because we wanted power or territory or revenge. Now we fight because we must. Because others cannot. Because peace without protection is just a pretty lie. She turned to face Drake. 200 years ago, we gave up war because we'd become too good at it. We'd made it too efficient. Too deadly. We knew if we kept going, we'd destroy ourselves. So we stopped. And now we remember. We remember why we stopped. We remember what we're capable of. And we use that memory to ensure we never have to use these weapons unless absolutely necessary. She gestured to the graves. These people died because we forgot that peace requires strength. We won year after the Battle of Vraxis Prime, the galaxy looked different. Not in obvious ways. The same species still traded goods. The same ships traveled the same routes. The same council met in the same chamber. But everything had changed beneath the surface. Ambassador Chen Wei walked through the council station's commercial district. She stopped at a cafe run by a Vraxian family. The owner, an elderly female named Sresh, greeted her warmly. Ambassador Chen, please sit. I have fresh kava, just brewed. Chen sat at an outside table and accepted the hot drink. Sresh sat across from her. Something that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Vraxians had always considered themselves superior to other species. Now they were grateful just to be accepted. How is business? Chen asked. Better than I feared. Many species still avoid Vraxian vendors, but slowly they return. They see we are not all like Admiral Krivath, that we did not all support what happened. Sresh's voice dropped to a whisper. Thank you for stopping him. My grandson was on one of the ships at Vraxis Prime. You could have killed him. You chose not to. We chose justice, not revenge, Chen said simply. Many of my people do not understand the difference, but I do. And I teach my children to understand it too. Sresh poured more kava. The galaxy needed this lesson. We all did. Chen finished her drink and continued walking. The station had a new memorial now. A wall of names. 7,000 of them. Governor Sarah Walsh at the top. Every person from New Horizon listed below. Species from across the galaxy came to visit it. To remember. To learn. In the council chamber, debates were different now. When a border dispute arose between two mid-sized species, both sides came to the table immediately. No one wanted to test whether humanity would intervene. Speaker Zinthar opened the day's session. The Council recognizes the Talaran Republic and the Morvan Collective. You have both agreed to arbitration? The representatives from both species nodded quickly. Yes, Speaker. We believe peaceful resolution is in everyone's interest. Excellent. The Council appoints Ambassador Chen Wei as mediator. Do both parties accept? We accept, both representatives said in unison. Chen stood and approached the center of the chamber. She spent 3 hours listening to both sides. The dispute was over mining rights to an asteroid belt that bordered both territories. The kind of argument that could have led to war in the old days. Now both sides were eager to compromise. They watched Chen carefully, looking for signs of disapproval. She helped them craft an agreement that split the resources fairly. Both sides signed immediately. As the session ended, the Morvan representative approached Chen privately. "Thank you, Ambassador. May I speak candidly?" "Of course. We were prepared to go to war over this. A year ago we would have. But now," the Morvan looked uncomfortable. "Now we know that humanity is watching, that you will not allow aggression. Is that wrong? Should we make peace because we want to, not because we fear consequences?" Chen smiled gently. "Why you make peace is less important than that you do make peace. Fear of consequences is how law works. Eventually habit becomes culture. Culture becomes values. Your children won't need to fear consequences because they'll grow up believing peace is simply how things are done." "I hope you're right." "Ambassador, so do I." Halfway across the galaxy, Captain Drake walked through the corridors of the ESS Retribution. The ship was different now. Still armed, still capable of incredible destruction, but it felt more like a guardian than a weapon. Commander Zhang met him on the observation deck. Together they looked out at the planet below. New Horizon being rebuilt. Construction crews from a dozen species worked on the surface. New buildings rising where old ones had burned. "The first colonists arrive next month," Zhang said. 5,000 volunteers from Earth. They want to honor the original settlers by continuing their dream. Drake nodded. "Have we heard from Fleet Admiral Okonkwo?" "Yes, sir. She's retiring the Retribution from active patrol next month. We'll become a permanent memorial in orbit here. The new peacekeeping fleet will take over patrol duties. How do you feel about that?" Zhang was quiet for a moment. Relieved, honestly. This ship was built for war. I'm glad we won't need it anymore. I'm glad the Council finally has a real enforcement mechanism. "We'll always need it," Drake corrected. "We just won't need to use it." "There's a difference." The new Council peacekeeping fleet was a joint effort, ships and crew from 20 different species including humanity. They patrolled borders, investigated disputes, enforced Council law. For the first time in galactic history, the Council had teeth. The fleet's commander was a human named Admiral James Park, Chen's former assistant. He had left diplomatic service to join the military when Protocol Rubicon was activated. Now he commanded a force designed to prevent another New Horizon. "Our mission is simple," Park told his diverse crew. "We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We enforce the law fairly and without favor. We use force only when necessary, and only the minimum required. We are not conquerors. We are peacekeepers. Remember that." On Earth, Fleet Admiral Okonkwo stood in the underground facility where Protocol Rubicon had been activated. She was sealing it again, placing locks that would only open in dire emergency, storing the knowledge that humanity hoped never to use again. "Are you sure about this?" one of her officers asked. "What if we need these weapons again?" "Then we'll unseal them," Okonkwo replied. "But we'll do everything possible to avoid that." The Retribution taught the galaxy a lesson. Now we need to teach them a different one. That strength is most powerful when it's not used. She finished entering the final codes. The massive doors began to close. 200 years of weapons research and military doctrine, sealed away once more. But this time the galaxy knew it existed. Knew humanity could access it if needed. That knowledge was worth more than any weapon. Okonkwo's final act before retiring was visiting the military cemetery. She stood before Governor Walsh's grave and saluted. "We got justice for you," she said quietly. "For all of you. I hope that brings some peace. I hope you know that your deaths were not meaningless. You changed the galaxy, made it safer for everyone who comes after." The wind carried her words away. Okonkwo stood there for a long time, remembering. Then she turned and walked away. Her duty was done. Back on Diplomatic Station Harmony, Ambassador Chen prepared for another council session. But this time something unusual happened. A minor species, the Plenari, had a complaint against a larger neighbor. In the old days, their complaint would have been dismissed. The strong did what they wanted. The weak accepted it. Now Speaker Zinthar called for a full hearing. The larger species tried to intimidate the Plenari representative. Chen simply stood up. "The council is a place of law, not intimidation," she said calmly. "If you have a legal argument, make it. If not, sit down." The larger species representative looked at Chen, remembered the Battle of Raxus Prime, sat down. The Plenari presented their case. The council ruled in their favor. Justice was served. And no one died. This happened more and more. Small disputes resolved peacefully. Large disputes brought to arbitration. The threat of force from the peacekeeping fleet, backed by the memory of the retribution, kept everyone honest. It was not perfect. There were still crimes, still violence, still species who push boundaries. But the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The strong could no longer simply take what they wanted. The weak no longer had to accept injustice in silence. 5 years after New Horizon, Ambassador Chen attended a ceremony. The rebuilt colony was being officially reopened. 10,000 new settlers from a dozen different species would call it home. Governor Marcus Washington, who had replaced Walsh, gave a speech at the memorial wall. This place was destroyed because some beings believed peace was weakness, because they thought mercy was surrender, because they could not imagine that a peaceful species might also be a powerful one. He gestured to the names on the wall. These people died to teach that lesson. We honor them by living it. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence. Then construction equipment roared to life. Children ran through new streets. Merchants opened shops. Life continued. Chen watched and felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. That evening, she stood at the same observation window where this had all started, looking at the stars, thinking about how far they had come. Her communicator chimed. Speaker Zinthar. Ambassador, we have a situation. 2 species on the rim are threatening war. We need a mediator. I'll be there in 10 minutes, Chen replied. As she walked to the council chamber, she passed the memorial wall. 7,000 names, 7,000 reasons why the galaxy had changed. She touched Walsh's name gently. We're doing better, she whispered. Not perfect, but better. I hope that's enough. In the council chamber, the 2 feuding species were already shouting at each other. Chen took her position and waited for silence. When she spoke, everyone listened. Gentlemen, you have 2 choices. Settle this dispute peacefully or continue toward war. But understand this. The galaxy will not tolerate another New Horizon. The Council has peacekeepers. Humanity has the retribution. And neither will allow innocent beings,